One of my favourite films of the 2010s is Beast, directed by Christoffer Boe. Beast is something of a horror film, although of this film's admirers, some may dispute this claim, as horror is still something of a slur sometimes. Let's consider Beast a very peculiar drama instead, shall we? I spoil this film with my penultimate screen caps, so if that bothers you, I'd suggest pausing this video, watching the actual film Beast, and then finally unpausing the video. Bruno and Maxine live together in a classy apartment in Copenhagen. Their marriage is tumultuous. Maxine engages in an affair with another married man. Meanwhile, Bruno begins to transform into something of the Cronenberg genus. It sounds genius, doesn't it? Indeed that. Now, there may be several richly profound takeaways one can receive from 2011's Beast. Haunting realizations about romantic relationships, societal desolation, or gendered conflict. Today I am rather more eager to discuss, briefly, the technical facets of this picture. Beast contains some of the most psychic, evocative framing ever realized in cinema history, in my meager opinion. It opts for, as you may note in some of these screen caps, highly unconventional blocking, the kind of thing which it is hard to imagine being the vector on any canvases. The close-ups of its two major players, Bruno and Maxine, they bowled me over. I was enthralled with this film's imagination in communicating the distress of its players. I thought it was magnificent, frankly. I might quickly address that Cronenberg connection. There is no literal connection with this film and David Cronenberg as far as I know. I'm rather referring to Beast being a descendant of Cronenberg's work, part of that genus, as I joked earlier. I very briefly considered whether this is the sort of film Cronenberg ought to have made in the 2010s, and then immediately relented. One, because I recall strongly that Cosmopolis was actually a rather interesting development of the visceral body horror scaffold, morphing it into a kind of speculative neurological horror. I'll have to make a video for Cosmopolis one of these days. But yes, A Dangerous Method was embarrassing, Carl Jung deserves better, and Maps to the Stars is, well, far from bad in my opinion, but feels creatively broke and topically tacky. The Secret Life of Celebrities, oh what a stunner. So anyway, Beast runs on the engine of a decaying romance drama, inserting body horror as an imaginatively fearless manifestation of the player's psychological degradation. So without any obligation to be a piece of body horror, Beast utilizes its Cronenberg genes appropriately and sparsely. It's gotten to the point where I feel as though I have used the BH term far too much, and have reduced Beast to something lesser than the sum of its parts. Not that I look down upon BH, far from it, especially when illustrious DC is responsible. I feel as though it's just as plausible that Beast belongs to a more continental European tradition. It's arguably just as downstream from Godard's Rebellious Ladies, Bergman's Agitating Void, Trier's Violent Cynicism, and/or Haneke's Ruthless Reductionism. A few words now on Mr. Christoffer Boe himself. I first became aware of Boe as my friend Viscount Goulandode was a big admirer of 2003's Reconstruction. Reconstruction was certainly okay, although I found myself more gripped by Allegro off-screen, and then especially Everything Will Be Fine. Beast may represent my favourite work from this mighty and apparently underappreciated film director. After Beast, Boe was responsible in 2013 for an historical comedy entitled Sex, Drugs and Taxation. It doesn't look overly appealing to me, sadly. In 2018, he directed an entry of the Department Q film series, which adapted a series of novels by Jussi Adler-Olsen. This film, The Purity of Vengeance, is apparently the most successful Danish film ever, overtaking the previous 3 entries in its series to attain that title. Now that you have been responsible for directing a cash cow, Christoffer Boe, you are a visionary film director. Please, with the resources you must have attained from The Purity of Vengeance, make the films you want to make. Do it, Christoffer Boe. You can be a hero for cinema. More so than you already are. So that's one of my favourite films of the 2010s. Beast is something of a masterpiece, I might so declare.